Hey there, thanks for watching this video today on nonviolent communication. My name is Sarah Lanzini and I have the business called The Assertive Woman. And I recently went to a workshop training on nonviolent communication. And it was an 8-hour training, 2 hours for over 4 days. And I would love to just share what I learned from that. And here it is. So the basics that I learned from nonviolent communication are it's really important to be able to state what you need in a way that's empowering from others that comes from a place of empathy. So here are some of the things that I learned from the training. Basically, nonviolent communication, the goals of it. I have a little worksheet over here that I got from the training. So nonviolent communication training strengthens our ability to, and there's 4 bullet points here. Make clear, non-interpretive observations when others' words or actions conflict with our own values. 2, evaluate honesty without passing judgment. 3, request assertively the cooperation we need without demanding or commanding. And you know that this is the one that I really like to embody, because for me, assertiveness is not about demanding or controlling or being rude, being bossy, being controlling. Like, it's not about that for us. It's really just about stating what you need and expressing that in a respectful way. I'm all about respect. So nonviolent communication training also strengthens our ability to understand and respect the feelings and needs underlying communications we receive from others, even when we do not like the form of the message. So that's also important. So who started nonviolent communication? I'm not certified in it or anything like that. However, there is a book by Marshall B. Rosenberg that I have it here, Nonviolent Communication. And if you're interested in this at all, definitely grab this book and read it. But I'm going to just take, I don't know, maybe 5-10 minutes and just talk about the basics of it. But this book really goes into the depths of it and really how to hone your skill and get really good at this. But the basic tenets of nonviolent communication, there's 4 things. I like to say 5, but really when you take the training, they have 4 things. So those 4 things, just to run them down real quick, what they have is 1, what is the observable behavior? 2, you make yourself vulnerable by expressing true feelings. 3, you state what you need. And 4, you make the connecting request. So they like to have the acronym OFNR, Offner. So O, observable behavior, F, feelings, N, need, and R, request. So that's what they say you need to really practice expressing courageous honesty. But however, I like to have step 0 in there, which is really you set the stage with empathy first. So, for example, because you can come to someone and say, this is what I'm seeing, the observable behavior, this is how I feel about it, this is what I need, and here's my request. But sometimes that can come across as a little too rigid, for example, or like, hey, like, I see this is how I feel, now you fix it. You know, that's not the best way to go about it either. So step 0 is setting the stage with empathy first. And what that really means to me, before I get into the details of the OFNR 4 steps here. So, but what setting the stage with empathy first means to me, for example, is, let's say you're in a relationship or with a family or a friend or your significant other, and you set the stage with empathy. Empathy is a way to express that you share their feelings and that you really just want what's best for the relationship. So you could say something like, hey, like, is this a good time? I would love to chat with you about something. You know, I care so much about our relationship that I feel so compelled to bring this up, and I want to make sure that you know this, and that I love you, and that I want us to have a healthy relationship. And just know that that's where this is coming from. Like, I just value this so much that, and I value you and your feelings and your opinions, and I want to respect you. And, you know, this relationship just means that much to me, and this is why I want to bring something up to you right now. So can you see how that just would put them off? If they're on the defense, they're not anymore, because you're able to express to them, like, hey, I have something to talk about, but here's why. Here's why I really want to share this with you right now, because this is important, and I just value the relationship so much that, you know, I love you, I respect you, I want to hear your feelings and your opinions on this too. But this is what I'm noticing. So just to set the stage with empathy first is you just kind of say that, share from the heart how you feel about the relationship. So getting into the details of OFNR in nonviolent communication. So one, again, what is the observable behavior? So for this one, this is super important that you're not passing a judgment on what they're doing. You're not assigning a meaning to what it is that they're doing. It's really the observable behavior that they're doing. So if someone, an example of what an observable behavior, the way you could put it is the facts. You know, what are the facts of the situation? You could say, like, for example, when you walked over to that person and stood in front of them, that's a fact. That is an observable behavior. So you can start you can tell them, when I, and then you input your observable behavior. When I, for example, saw, heard, witnessed, watched, remembered, listened, these are all observable behaviors. So when I saw you walk over to that person and stand in front of them, that's an observable behavior. So again, so you don't want to put any judgments. You don't want to say when you were being rude. You know, that's yes, that is definitely possibly something they were doing. However, that's not an observable behavior. That is your judgment on what they were doing. So there's kind of a difference there. So one, what is the observable behavior? Two, making myself vulnerable by expressing true feelings. Now, this one, we could probably talk all day about true feelings, but for the sake of the video, we're gonna not do that. So what you would say for this one, and feelings are a little tricky because there's, for example, the nonviolent communication, they think, or they are of the mindset that there's some feelings that are, they say faux feelings. So what does that mean? So they say here, take a moment to feel the feelings before stating them. Okay. And this was a big struggle for me, and it might be a struggle for you too, of knowing how you're feeling. I mean, sometimes you just don't know. And so what's really helpful is in the book, of course, and also I can put them up here. Yeah, I can do that. Maybe if you can see this, I'm not quite sure. But again, so feelings, they're conditioned. So if you can read that. So these are some feelings that are what happens when you don't get your needs met. So for example, angry, sad, what else is on here? Angry, sad, anxious, nervous, embarrassed, hopeless, lonely, withdrawn, and then also the feelings that we tend to have when our needs are satisfied. So these could be anywhere from like glad, joyful, appreciative, ecstatic, loving, calm, energetic. So those are some of the things. So if you kind of struggle with knowing how you're feeling, this is a good time to, there's a really good resource if you just Google the feelings wheel. It's like this big giant wheel of just like a bunch of feelings. So that would be somewhere that you could go to find that as well. And so it's good to know how you're feeling. You can't, I know, like, even for a lot of men and women, it's hard to know how you're feeling and to think they're not important. But they really are. So let's make sure we know how we're feeling, because it's just important to know. So and then so what they were talking about was with the faux feelings. So this was interesting to me. This was very interesting to me. So they said that faux feelings are non-feelings, and we're like, what does this mean? So for example, what we think people do to us. So, which this is like this is really getting into the details and the nitty-gritty of feelings, right? So a feeling that is a true feeling would be angry, sad, that kind of thing. However, a faux feeling would be something like something that we think people do to us. So you could say, when I felt attacked, that's on their list of faux feelings, because it's a feeling of what we think people do to us. People attack us, right? So attacked is actually not a feeling, even though it is a feeling, but there's a feeling behind that feeling, right? So when you're attacked, you feel angry, and angry would be more true of a feeling than attacked. Side note on angry real quick, which is actually down here at the bottom of this worksheet, which reminded me. Angry is actually, let's put it this way, there's always something below the anger. So whenever you feel angry, just recognize that there's something else going on beneath it, and usually it's either fear, pain, or sadness. So anger should be one of those things where you're like, oh, I'm feeling angry. What's really going on? What am I really angry about? Am I afraid of something? Am I really scared? Am I sad? Am I hurt? I'm not actually like angry. Anger is really just how we manifest pain or sadness or fear sometimes, right? So just side note on anger real quick. If you find yourself in anger a lot, no worries, try not to take it out on people, but recognize that there's really just something else going on. What is that something else? Dive deep and try and figure out what you might be sad about or afraid of. So back to the faux feelings of what we think people do to us. So for example, I can show you the list here. So we have abandoned, abused, attacked, neglected, manipulated, intimidated, unimportant, used. So these are some of the feelings that that we think people do to us, and they're not actually our true feelings. So again, the true feelings would be these ones, right? Angry, sad, anxious, fearful, nervous. So that was a very interesting thing to me about this nonviolent communication class, was learning about these faux feelings and being like, huh. So you can't. So it might not be the best thing to go to someone and say, I feel neglected, because again, you're putting a judgment on their behavior. Does that make sense? I hope so. If not, maybe I'll do another video on this. But that made a lot of sense to me, and I was actually really happy that they have this list of the feelings that we say we might feel, but it's actually a judgment on how we interpret their behavior, right? So that's interesting. So let's go down to number 3 then. So what is number 3? So that was 2. 1 was, what is the observable behavior? 2, making myself vulnerable by expressing true feelings. And 3, stating my need, want, or dream. So observable behavior, when I saw you do such and such, I am, or I felt such and such, feeling word, okay? And then you would say, because I need, value, or want, and then you would fill in a need. And so the nonviolent communication class really helped me as well figure out what those needs are. And I'm going to show these to you because these are super important. This was actually the key part of it, in my opinion, was finding out what, we feel feelings, but we might not necessarily know why, and we don't know what we need. And so it's super important to be able to articulate that, which this is my area of my greatest growth right now, is being able to articulate what the need is that I'm needing behind the feeling. So, cat. So anyway, need. So these are some of the needs. So for example, needs, values, or wants. So they kind of broke them out into categories. So for example, one of the needs would be the need for meaning, the need for autonomy, the need for authenticity, the need for connection, the physical needs, the need for play, the need for community, and the need for peace. So I'll just put these up here real quick. If you can see those, hopefully you can. So again, so when you break it down into, this is what I'm observing, this is how I'm feeling, and this is actually what I need, it's super important. So for example, one of the ones that I felt during the class, we had a lot of group work, and during the class, the need for connection came up over and over. And connection is a real human need. I mean, it's the basic connection. It's the basic need of humans. And for example, here are some of the things that you could say. So I need connection, acceptance, belonging, closeness, communication, companionship, compassion, empathy, interdependence, intimacy, love, respect. And some of the words that I wrote in down below would be the need for admiration, affirmation, patience, depth, to be taken seriously, the need for grace, the need for forgiveness. So these are huge, and I feel like it's important to know how you're feeling, and it's also important to know what you need and to be able to articulate that to someone. And if you need a list like what we have here in order to articulate that, then there is no shame in that. The needs are listed in the book, so definitely if you didn't catch them on the video, get the book and really just look at what the needs are, and what would be true for you, because it's super important to know that. Okay, so that's number 3. So 1, observable behavior when you do blank. I feel blank because I need blank. So you're saying, this is what I observe, this is how I feel from that, and the reason why I feel this way is because I need this. So then this is where you tie it all together. So number 4 is making that request. And so number 4, making my connecting request a positive, doable action language. So you could say something like, and now I would like blank. And so what you could do here is you can ask the person to really ask them what you need. Ask them to provide you what you need, and not in a controlling, judgmental way, right? I mean, this is really about deepening the connection of the relationship and having both needs, having both people heard. And the need to feel heard came up over and over again in the class as well. So anyway, so what you could say something like, making the request, making it a positive, doable action. So don't just say, I need you to love me more. Like, what does that mean? No, that means that no one would know what that means. I need you to respect me more. Like, what does that mean? So what you could say is like, if you're looking for respect, you could say, I need for you to, when I'm talking to you, I need for you to stop what you're doing and look into my eyes. Okay? I mean, that's a very positive, doable action. They know exactly what it is that you need in order for you to feel respected. So that's huge. So like if you say, I need you to respect me more, they have no idea what that even means. So give them a positive, doable action that is very specific, that once they do it, you will feel respected and you will feel whatever it is that you need. Set them up for success, like, and be willing to hear them too. That's super important, is being able to hear other people when they give you their requests too. So again, so that is the 4 tenets of nonviolent communication. And of course, like I said at the beginning, set the stage with empathy first. And I do think it's important to close with empathy as well. So you could say something like thank you, express appreciation. Thank you so much for listening to me and for hearing me out. And, just know that I'm not saying this to upset the apple cart or to make a big deal. I'm just letting you know this because this is how I feel, and this is what I would prefer instead. And this doesn't need to be a big old confrontation. You don't need to be starting a trouble. You don't need to be creating conflict. You're literally just opening the conversation and you're being vulnerable and you're taking responsibility for your side of the street and you're saying, hey, like, this is me, this is what I need, this is how I feel right now. And to me, that's self-care. To be able to express what you need from someone and to let them know that how their behavior impacts you is good self-care. Because if you don't tell them and if you don't let them know, they're not going to know. They're not going to be able to make the relationship better. They're not going to be able to meet your needs if you don't tell them in a respectful, calm way, right? That's the key. If you come to them and you're like, hey, you're being a dumb bee or whatever it is, you know, like, you're being so disrespectful, that would put everyone on the defense. I don't care who you are. That's not how you start conversations. Don't start conversations that way. Try it. Let me know how it goes. I think we've all probably been there. So the nonviolent communication is really just, I was just really happy I was able to take that workshop, and it's really helped me. So I would definitely recommend getting the book. Again, I'll show it to you again. Nonviolent Communication, The Language of Life. Create your life, your relationships, and your world in harmony with your values. So again, just please do this for everyone for the sake of your relationships. And yeah, like my video and let me know what you think. Let's have a conversation about this. All right. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.